I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh well, if I don't remember it, it can't be that important. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. JC here with another video on Disgaea RPG. Today we'll talk about Overlord Rozalin. But before we start, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Starting with her abilities, her Any 0 gives all allies equipped with a staff or magical monster weapon an 18% buff to HP and int. Her Any 1 increases her wind damage when equipped with a magical monster weapon by 70%. Her Any 5 gives SP at the start of turn. The amount depends on how many enemies are alive, and if there's only one enemy left, you'll get 30 SP. Do keep in mind that this is her ample ability, and you'll be able to give this ability to another unit if you have a spare copy of her. Last is her Any 7. This grants an int and critical rate buff at the start of turn for one turn, and the fewer enemies, the bigger the buff, capping at 30%. For skills, her Etheric Strike is a medium cost AoE attack that grants 1000 action gauge, a 35% critical damage buff, and it also prolongs the current buff durations by one turn. Her Lightning Crest is a cheap single target attack that reduces basic stats by 30%, speed by 20%, and it also removes the target's buffs. And her Overlord Authority is her high cost AoE attack. Similar to Overlord Prior, this skill deals more damage the fewer enemies, and when there's only one enemy left, it will deal the same damage as an S-rank attack. For spells, she has Mega Magic Boost, Mega Speed Down, and Mega Speed Boost. Even if she plays the main attacker role on most situations, it's nice to have these tools available if you want to use her as a sub-attacker. Let's be clear, Overlord Rozalin is a very odd character. She's a wind element magical attacker, and a magical monster at that. She won't have troubles with her SP thanks to her Any 5, but she doesn't give herself enough buffs to kill the enemy in one hit. You can combo her Any 7 and her Etheric Strike to give her a 60% int and critical rate buff, along with a 35% critical damage buff. Since she is a 1000 action gauge increased character, she isn't suited for sparse space. Instead, use her on raids and PvP. Since we still don't have pure critical supporters that give over 50% critical damage buffs, it's very important that you build a weapon with a 100% critical damage buff. As you saw, for an int monster, Overlord Rozalin has pretty good chances of landing a crit, but that isn't worth anything if she doesn't have the buffs to back it up. So the question is, who do you need to pair her with? Well, my first recommendation is Santa Rozalin. You know, classic stuff for a unit who needs big buffs. She can give an int buff of up to 90%, as well as a 30% critical damage buff, and she's a universal SP battery. Not that Overlord Rozalin needs SP. As you know, Formal Routine is an excellent supporter for characters that need a lot of buffs, as she can give an extra turn to your best buffer, and she passively gives critical rate for the whole party. When Santalis receives her buffs, she will be another viable option. Thanks to her action gauge increase ability, you can reduce your speed in favor of more int. She gives SP to Overlord Rozalin since she is King Symbol, and Santalis also increases skill damage. Although other elements don't match, that doesn't mean you can use them together. A good aspect of the elemental meta is that you only need your supporter's element to match. If you go the mixed element route, don't forget to use Archangel Flown next to Maid Salvatoris. In the future, keep an eye for Nesaria. She is a mixed element user and a debuffer with buffing capabilities, very similar to Riven's. Her abilities benefit magical monsters, and she has her own action gauge increase ability. She is another solid option if you want to use a mixed element team. Once the second Makai Kingdom collab arrives, we'll get Alexander. He's a wind element supporter you can pair with Overlord Rozalin. He works as a buffer and a debuffer, and he hits the enemy with the lowest HP with a wind element attack twice, which means he can break a wind barrier by himself. Zodiac Luz is the crit supporter we have been waiting for. Unfortunately, she favors the physical side of the spectrum, and if you want to use her with a magical attacker like Overlord Rozalin, you'll have to make sure that there's no one in the team with more attack than her. Although Bright Rozalin is a wind supporter, she's better suited for physical teams, so try not to rely on her for your strategies. And that's it, guys. I like Overlord Rozalin. Unfortunately, she desperately needs elemental supporters next to her, since even with a 1 attacker and 4 supporter composition, you may have troubles reaching the buff cap. But what do you think? Is she worth the role? Are you going to get her? Do you know other units that pair well with her? Let me know in the comments. See ya!